The ghost of the Maggi saga has now come to haunt popular food brand Kentucky Fried Chicken. A state food laboratory in Hyderabad has found monosodium glutamate or MSG content in its product above permissible limits. A Hyderabad-based child right organization had collected 5 random samples of KFC products and had sent it to the lab for testing. MSG presents in its chicken product, and now the NGO has demanded a ban on KFC and threatened to launch a nationwide protest if the ban is not implemented. KFC has meanwhile issued a statement saying these are false allegations and they have no knowledge of samples being collected from any of their stores. The statement also questions the conditions under which the samples were transported for this alleged test. The statement goes on to add that this is an attempt to wrongly malign their brand reputation and they would strongly pursue this case and seek a clarification from concerned authorities. Okay, we have joining us on the phone line T.S. Sudhir, editor South, and also Shikha Sharma, well-known nutritionist and dietitian. But first, let's get across to Sudhir. Sudhir, you know, how do you look at the statement that KFC has put out? Do we, there seem to be valid concerns as to what were the conditions under which the food samples were really transported to the lab? Has the person, in fact, who appealed for a ban, have they responded in any ways to KFC's latest statement?
Well, what KFC says is that many of their items are perishable items, so it's very important to know how soon did the lab actually test those particular items. The NGO which actually gave it to the lab for testing says that they took these random samples from 5 different outlets of KFC and they were all given to the lab within the prescribed time. So therefore, those kind of conditions were adhered to. But what KFC is pointing out is that they cook up to 170 degrees Celsius, and any kind of infected meat, if the bacteria cannot survive beyond 160 degrees. So in that sense, both the KFC as well as the NGO are in a sense lugging it out, saying that they have done no wrong, but obviously the lab results are there. But I also spoke to the GHMC, the Hyderabad Municipal Authority. They say that they cannot take any kind of action against KFC because the tests have not been conducted by them, but have been conducted at the instance of a private NGO.
Sudhir, very quickly, but do they intend now to conduct tests on their own?
Not yet. They do this random tests at different outlets to check the hygienic conditions, and under that they could possibly go to KFC also, which also they say they have done in the past, but that could also happen on a random basis from now on.
Okay, Shikha Sharma is with us here on the phone line. Ma'am, this entire the Maggi saga, which is now expanded, and there's so many companies, so many well-known companies seem to be coming into the bracket. People viewing their products with suspicion. There's almost a sense of paranoia here. What would you tell viewers really watching this show?
See, I would say that it is excellent that there is a sense of a civic movement about the basic right to know that are we eating healthy food, what we are paying for. Yes, initially I'm sure these things would play out more, but somewhere I think the consumer will become a more demanding consumer who would expect that the product he's buying, purchasing has been tested for quality.
Yes.
Consideration of what KFC has said that E. coli and every bacteria would die at that high temperature, I agree. But the contamination can also happen while packaging. If gloves have not been used while packaging or while distributing food or while serving food. So I think the whole chain has to be seen whether that hygiene has been maintained at every level.
But Sharma, really the kind of products that we see in the market, there is such a huge range of products, be it chips, be it burgers, be it pizzas, be it these fried food products, including chicken products from KFC, where, do people have to be conscious all the time of what they eat? Or do you think that there is also a degree of panic that has now set in here?
No, I think basically, in India, food laws were very lax, and I think they were lax, and somewhere now, at least in the metros, there is a rising sensitivity that we have to eat healthy, and therefore, as step 2, I think it's also important that all the roadside vendors, they should have proper licenses and checks, or there should be a certain benchmark on how food can be served.
Okay.
Because whatever you do with the public has to be hygienic. One cannot sell unhygienic food, whether it is coming from a roadside vendor or a multinational brand. And therefore, even the authorities who have been speaking till now, for them also it's a wake-up call that look, people people are wanting to know whether they are eating safe food.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Shikha Sharma, for having joined us with that perspective. Clearly, there is that increased civic awareness also that seems to have set in. T.S. Sudhir is still on the phone line with us. Sudhir, what is this NGO now saying? Since, as you mentioned, that these were samples not collected by the official authorities, how does the NGO plan to take forward what they seem to find, of course, are higher MSG levels in the KFC samples that they collected? Looks like we've lost T.S. Sudhir there on the phone line, but clearly we'll have to see as to now if there are fresh interventions in this case or if there are fresh samples that are picked up officially as well to be tested.